7 bone-chilling treasures you'll never believe were found in the woods at Nothingness. Under the silver glow of the full moon, the woods stood silent, cloaked in a thick veil of mystery. Legend spoke of treasures buried deep within the shadows, waiting for the brave or the foolish to uncover them. Just when you thought these were simple tales meant to scare kids, a group of thrill-seekers didn't just hear about them, they stumbled right into their chilling reality. The first discovery came by accident. As Mike turned over a drooping patch of moss, he revealed an ancient, rusted lockbox. It was weathered, covered in odd, swirling symbols, and pulsating a low hum that sent chills down his spine. What lay inside? Some speculated cursed treasures, others whispered about lost souls craving freedom. When they pried it open, the air grew thick with a sudden stench, a mix of decay and something sweetly intoxicating, causing their hearts to pound as they peered inside. Then there was Jenna, who claimed to have spotted a tapestry woven from a material that glimmered even in the dark, hanging from an old tree. She swore it whispered her name. As she reached for it, lightning flickered overhead a warning. The fabric felt alive, warm to the touch, and she could swear she heard voices, echoing tales of forgotten rituals. Something was off, but she couldn't pull herself away. The atmosphere was growing thicker, each moment teeming with pulse-quickening suspense. They shared nervous glances, feeling the woods closing in, but the allure of what was to be discovered fueled their determination. What if there were more? What if they uncovered the fabled spirit-guarded treasures rumored to grant unimaginable power? Just as they steeled themselves for another step deeper into the darkness, a loud crack echoed behind them. Frozen in disbelief, they turned. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Pulsing adrenaline coursed through them as they stood frozen. Then, a ghostly figure stepped from within the shadows. It was cloaked in rags, the face obscured, but a glowing blue light flickered at its heart. Fear gripped them, and yet, they were drawn closer like moths to a flame, desperate to know if this was the guardian of the treasures, or something far more sinister. What had they awakened? As the figure raised an arm, a whisper echoed around them. Join us. Where was the line between treasure and curse? And what lay beyond the flickering light? Only one way to find out. The figure hovered, its presence both inviting and terrifying. Mike's heart hammered as he stepped backwards, pulling Jenna with him. But it was too late. The others stood rooted in place, captivated by the flickering light that pulsed in sync with their own erratic heartbeats. The air grew colder, and a sense of impending doom washed over them. "Do you hear that?" whispered Jenna, her voice trembling. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices flowing around them, each crying out, pleading, and warning. They felt a push, as if the shadows themselves willed them closer to the spectral figure. Maybe it wants to show us something," Mike stammered, infusing false bravado into his voice. The darkness beckoned, an unseen gravity pulling at their instincts. But deep inside, a primal instinct screamed to run. "Join us." The figure leaned closer. Its voice echoed in their minds, strangely comforting yet filled with an ancient malevolence. The blue light brightened, illuminating its features or lack thereof. No face stared back at them, just an endless void where eyes should rest, drawing each of their thoughts like a magnet. "It's not real. It's a trick." Bio Raj, one of the more skeptical members of the group, breaking from the trance. He took a step forward, squinting into the darkness. "You're all falling for some weird projection. We need to leave." Then there was another crack, louder this time, and the moment froze as the ground beneath them began to tremble. Woeful whispers rose to a fever pitch, and they felt the earth shift as if it were alive, hungry. "Don't listen. We have to go now." Mike yelled, adrenaline blaring, shaking Jenna's arm fiercely. She resisted, her eyes still locked onto the figure's void-like face, mesmerized by the blue glow that felt like both fire and ice. Why? What if this is it? This is what we were searching for. Jenna argued, a fierce light igniting in her eyes. Jenna, we can't trust it. Mike shouted. But her determination only grew. Before Mike could grab her again, the figure raised its other arm, and from the shadows erupted a flurry of shapes, dark entities emerging like a storm. They were quick, darting between trees, drawing closer with every beat of the heart. The chilling realization hit, these weren't treasures waiting to be found. They were guardians, protectors of something far darker and insatiably hungry. Run! Jenna finally turned, the spell breaking as she took off into the woods, heart pounding, with Mike barreling after her. The haunting symphony of whispers turned into frenetic echoes as the darkness closed in. Branches snagged at their clothes, their breath visible in the cold air. The once eerie night now transformed into a nightmare. They could hear the others shouting, panic rising around them like thick smoke. We need to regroup. Where's everyone else? Mike shouted, adrenaline clawing at his throat. As they bolted deeper into the midnight woods, it became increasingly apparent they were being herded, the spectral figure pulsing with light behind them like a beacon, the shadows dancing menacingly at the edges of their vision. Stay close. Mike urged, but it was impossible to tell which way was even back. The trees seemed to morph, twisting and contorting as if mocking their confusion. They were lost, spiraling deeper into a darkness that whispered secrets too dangerous to grasp, but then Jenna stumbled, clawing at the ground and mouthing a silent scream. Mike whipped around only to see a shadow engulf her, pulling her back into the dark. The horror set in. No. He lunged for her, but the darkness swallowed her whole, and with it, his courage began to flicker out. Clenching his fists, he turned towards the ominous glow of the figure looming above the chaos. Did he dare return? Was she truly gone? Or could the line separating treasure from curse still be unraveled in the depths of these woods? The weight of the night felt heavier than ever before. What awaited him in that treacherous void? One heartbeat at a time, he made his choice, driven by the faintest flicker of hope. Or was it despair? The forest held its breath, and so did he. Whatever was hiding in the shadows was growing restless. And Mike was about to face his greatest fear to find out the truth. Mike's breath came in ragged gasps as he faced the pulsating figure. Darkness pressed against him, thick and suffocating, as if the trees themselves were squeezing the life out of the night. The soft glow bathed his surroundings in an eerie light, casting long, flickering shadows that danced in a grotesque ballet. The world began to fade around him, taken over by a single desperate thought: he had to find Jenna. Jenna! He called, his voice cracking as panic twisted through him. He couldn't see where she had gone, only the void where she had stood moments before. With each second lost, desperation clawed at his throat, tightening like a noose. The whispers returned, louder and angrier, swarming like angry bees. The forest seemed alive, branches swaying violently as if reaching for him. The figure loomed, its pulsing light growing brighter with an unsettling pulsation, inviting yet horrifying. Join us, it whispered again, a chorus of voices twisting around those words, wrapping around him like vines. Did they want him to succumb? Was there a twisted comfort in surrendering to the void? Before he could dwell on it, he felt a disturbance behind him, a rustle, a shuffle. He turned, heart pounding, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered. Raj? He called, but all he saw were shadows shifting, scampering out of sight. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again. Cold fingers of fear traced along his spine as the air grew dense with something dark and malicious. He turned back to the figure, and in that moment, clarity struck. It wasn't he trying to entice him, it was drawing him in, but to what end? Mike knew he had to act. Tearing himself from the spellbinding light, he plunged deeper into the woods. The crunch of leaves underfoot sounded like thunder in the silence, echoing loudly as he sprinted blindly into the unknown. Jenna! The call echoed back to him, mixing with the rising cacophony of the whispers. He stumbled upon the clearing where moments before their group had gathered. Shadows darted between trees like quicksilver, and he felt like prey hunted by unseen eyes. Did they watch him? Did they know what he sought? Biting back tears, he fought through a wave of despair. "I can't give up," he whispered fiercely to himself. A flash of light caught his attention, and he strained to listen, trying to decipher anything amidst the noise. Then he heard it, a faint whimper. It bled through the sounds of torment, crisp and real. His heart ached. Could it be Jenna? It was coming from deeper inside the trees, from where the shadows grew thicker. With newfound determination, Mike surged forward, squaring his shoulders against the cold dread closing in around him. Each step felt heavy, a weight pulling him back as the whispers transformed into taunts, echoing his deepest fears. "You'll never save her," they chorused, sending chills crawling up his arms. The trees warped and twisted, nearly blocking him, their branches grabbing at him as if to say, "Stay." But his resolve strengthened. "I will find her," he shouted, shaking off the grip of the unwelcome thorns. Crouching low, he moved cautiously, focusing on the puny light dancing ahead of him, the spark that might lead him to salvation. The whimper grew more urgent, and so did the rolling tide of whispers. It felt as though the land, the very ground beneath him, was a living thing, hungry, waiting, and watching every single moment. And then he saw it, a shimmer through the trees, a glimmer of hope. But as he rushed toward it, tension crackled through the air like static. A shrill scream pierced the night, shattering everything. The world spun as he stumbled to a halt. What now awaited him in that darkness? Was it Jenna? Or was it the figure, waiting to consume him whole? The night pressed on, and Mike stood trembling before the biggest choice of his life. One wrong step, and he might lose everything. But there was a glimmer, right in the depths of that void. And he couldn't turn away. Mike's heart raced, each beat thundering in his ears as he fought the urge to retreat. The scream echoed again, twisting through the trees, a raw cry filled with terror. He had to move. Mustering every ounce of courage, he lunged forward, plunging into the darkness toward the source of that haunting sound. The air was thick, heavier than before, pressing against him like a weight. Each step felt like a confrontation with fear itself. The wrong move could pull him under. He ignored the whispers clawing at his mind, drowning out his internal doubts with every purpose-driven stride. "Jenna!" he shouted again, desperation spilling from his lips. Part of him longed to believe she might hear him, might know he was coming. A flash of movement startled him. Shadows flitted between the trees, ghostly figures that melted into darkness. Were they watching? Did they know? Were they Jenna's captors? Shaking off the icy grip of dread, Mike fought through the dense underbrush. The light grew brighter, flickering like a beacon attempting to pierce through the ominous veil enveloping him. And then, just when he thought hope was fading, he caught sight of something, a silhouette, small and cowering. "Jenna?" His voice trembled with uncertainty as he stepped cautiously into the clearing. The figure turned, and for a moment, time froze. Her eyes went wide, glimmering with unshed tears reflecting the strange light. "Mike!" she cried, relief washing over her pallid face. But it was not just relief, there was something else. Fear. Before he could reach her, the pulsing light shifted, the figure behind it growing more defined. Mike's heart sank. It was not merely an ordinary being. A terrifying face emerged, with hollow eyes that sucked in the very essence of life. "Come to me, dear one," it whispered, its voice a smothering echo. The synaptic chorus of whispers swelled again, begging him to join the void where his mind teetered, the sickly sweet promise of peace. "No!" Mike shouted, pulling his focus back to Jenna. He could see her shaking, caught between two worlds, the world of darkness and the embrace of his relentless love. Cursing the thing before him, Mike took a step forward, ready to fight. But as the distance closed, Jenna's expression changed. Panic flickered across her face, morphing into pure terror. "No! Mike, don't!" The ground beneath Mike's feet began to shift, the very earth trembling as if rebelling against the presence of the figure. A spell was cast, trying to ensnare him with the tightening of shadows. "Join us," it urged again, more insistent this time, an intoxicating promise that lured at the corners of his reason. "I won't leave you." Mike screamed, desperation flooding through him. The whispers rose to a deafening crescendo, drowning out everything else, urging him to surrender. He could feel the pull, an insatiable gravity that begged him to give in, to just let go. "No!" he shouted again, forcing himself to focus on Jenna. He took another step, pushing back against the unseen force. Then, in a moment of clarity, Jenna's voice broke through the haze. "Mike! The light! It can hurt it." Without a second thought, Mike turned his attention to the shimmering light flickering over the figure. He felt courage swell within him as he dove toward it, surrounded by the restless whispers now resounding with rage. But as Mike lunged, he felt an icy grip around his ankle. The ground itself clawed at him, trying to pull him back into its dark embrace. He fought against it, muscles straining, desperation fueling his every action. Would he make it? Would he reach the light? Or would the forest consume him, along with his last chance to save Jenna? The ground trembled beneath him, and the figure let out a chilling roar, a sound that promised eternal darkness. He was teetering on the edge and time was slipping through his fingers like sand. But Jenna's face glowed with fierce determination, urging him forward. As Mike surged towards the light, he couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The whispers continued to pierce through reality itself. Clawing at the fringes of his sanity, what would happen if he stepped into that light? Would it save them, or unleash something far more sinister? In that heartbeat, he realized, they were not just running from darkness, they were about to confront it. A decision awaited him, one that could alter the fate of everything they held dear. And at that moment, everything changed. Mike plunged into the light, feeling an exhilarating rush of warmth against the icy grip of shadows. The whispers shrieked in protest, a cacophony of anger that rattled his bones, but he pressed on, fueled by the desperate hope radiating from Jenna's eyes. Suddenly, everything shifted. The air thickened, and the brilliant light became a swirling halo, dancing around him like a living entity. Just before the edge of the light enveloped him completely, he caught a glimpse of the figure that had haunted him. It twisted and recoiled, its hollow eyes narrowing with rage as if the illumination was a physical blow. "No!" it roared, a sound that vibrated deep within Mike's chest. The ground trembled violently beneath his feet, and he felt a surge of panic wash over him. He broke through the veil, crashing into a world drenched in unnatural brightness. The oppressive shadows receded, but even in this brilliant realm, Mike could feel the dark presence lurking just beyond the light, waiting, biding its time. "Jenna!" he gasped, spinning around to find her. She stood just behind him, bathed in the blinding glow, the fear in her eyes now mingled with growing awe. "Mike, it worked!" Her voice trembled, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed hope might conquer the darkness. But before they could embrace, the shadows writhed at the edge of their sanctuary. "Fools!" the figure screeched from the darkness, voice echoing with venomous laughter. "You think you have escaped? The light is not your salvation. It is merely an entrance to something far worse." Mike's heart raced again, not from exertion this time, but from undeniable fear. He exchanged a glance with Jenna, and the weight of their shared dread hung between them, pressing down like an iron shroud. "What do we do?" she whispered, her courage waning. "Stay close," he urged, his mind racing as he scanned their surroundings. This space felt surreal. Strange flowers glowed like embers, and the trees twisted impossibly, their branches reaching out as if trying to escape the keening wails of the creature outside their light, but the figure transformed as it approached the border, losing its shape, morphing into countless faces, each a mask of anguish and despair, twisted together in a grotesque display of suffering. "You can run, but you cannot hide. You belong to the darkness now," it taunted. "No!" Mike shouted, though doubt crept into his heart. It was hard to believe they could truly escape. He felt the shadows seeping around him, trying to twist into his thoughts, using his deepest fears against him. Feel the suffering you've caused. The figure's voice drenched in malice surrounded them, echoing their own insecurities. Images flashed through Mike's mind, regrets and choices he had made, friends lost, moments he couldn't take back. Shadows wrapped around him like chains, reminding him of all he had failed to protect. Fight it! Jenna screamed, a fierce light igniting in her voice. Remember why we are here. We can't lose. With her words, a spark ignited inside him. He thought of her, their bond, the life they had envisioned together. I want to let you take her. Mike declared, pushing through the panic clawing at his throat. He grasped Jenna's hand tightly, drawing strength from her presence. The shadows recoiled momentarily, and in that breath of hesitation, Mike surged forward. He reached out, searching for the source of the light that had brought them here. If it could push back their foe, it might be their only chance. But just as they approached the epicenter, a deep rumble shook the ground beneath them. Foolish children! The figure howled. You know not what you unleash. This is just the beginning. As Mike squeezed Jenna's hand tighter, a question loomed in his mind, one that sent shivers down his spine. What darkness were they truly confronting, and would their bond withstand the unimaginable horrors yet to come? The ground continued to shake, sending ripples through the brilliant light that surrounded them. Shadows danced wildly, twisting and writhing like snakes as the malevolent figure thrummed with dark energy. Mike's breath quickened. Each pulse of the darkness sent a wave of terror washing over him, clawing at his resolve. Keep moving! He shouted, dragging Jenna along as he pushed through the chaotic landscape. Panic bubbled under his skin, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in the suffocating silence that followed the rumble. The radiant flowers flickered nervously as if even they feared the looming malice. Where do we go? Jenna whispered, her voice trembling, barely audible above the siren song of the shadows. It feels like they're everywhere. A crack echoed like thunder, and from the corner of his eye, Mike spotted a shimmering archway in the distance. There. We need to reach that. He pointed, feeling a flicker of hope. But as he turned, the figure lunged, its multitude of faces contorting, each one screaming in anguish. Run! Jenna cried, tugging at his arm. Together they sprinted towards the archway, every step feeling like a leap through time. The brilliance of the light flickered, threatening to fade, and with it, their safety. As they ran, shadowy tendrils whipped around them, grazing their skin like icy fingers. Mike felt them tugging at his resolve, whispering doubts and fears that echoed in his mind. You can't escape. The figure's voice rang out, sharp and sinister. You think light can save you? You have brought the darkness with you. No. Mike shouted back, igniting a fervor within himself. We are not here to be consumed. With each stride, he clung to Jenna's warmth, the bond between them illuminating the path ahead, her presence grounding him against the storm of despair. Almost there. He urged, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Just a few more steps and they could plunge into the unknown, a world untouched by the figure's reach. Suddenly, an overwhelming force slammed into them, sending Mike sprawling to the ground. He gasped as the light flickered dangerously around him, struggling to regain its strength. Mike! Jenna's voice pierced through the chaos. He looked up to see her struggling against the encroaching shadows, the figure towering above her, its hollow eyes mocking what remained of their hope. Let her go! Mike roared, forcing himself to stand even as the darkness threatened to suffocate him. He could feel the weight of defeat pressing on his shoulders, but the spark ignited by Jenna's courage fueled his determination. Your connection is your weakness, the figure shrieked, grinning as it twisted Jenna's fear against her, painting her face with shadows of doubt and vulnerability. She will suffer if you do not abandon her. No! Mike shouted back, his voice cutting through the swirling miasma of sound. We are stronger together. And with that, a blinding flash erupted from their clasped hands, a beacon of light that pushed back against the darkness, illuminating the space around them. But the momentary victory was met with a deep, thunderous growl, an angry quake that rumbled through the air. "You dare defy me?" The figure raged, its multitude of faces twisted in fury. "You are nothing in this realm." As the shadows roared in response, Mike felt a sudden chill in the air, something even darker spilling forth like an oily tide. The last glimmers of the light began to weaken, and around them, whispers turned into screams. "Mike, we have to." Jenna's voice was barely audible over the din, thick with terror. "Be ready," Mike urged, the relentless pull of darkness attacking his senses, doubt gnawing at him. They couldn't fight this alone. Somehow, they needed to harness the power of the light, to find its core before it faded completely. "Do you think it's here?" Jenna asked, eyes wide, scanning their surroundings as the shadows inched closer, a wall of desolation creeping forward. "I have no idea," Mike admitted, uncertainty flooding his heart. "But we have to try or we lose everything." As they began to search, a growling breath behind them caught their attention, and suddenly, the light flickered more intensely. What was hidden in the shadows? Could they find the answer before it was too late? The air thickened, and Mike's heart began to race again. In the distance, another intense rumble echoed, a new threat, perhaps. What awaited them just beyond the edge of their sanctuary? The figure howled, a chilling promise of pain and suffering that washed over them. "Your journey has just begun. The darkness will swallow you whole." Panic fused with determination as Mike gripped Jenna's hand, searching the glowing perimeter. Darkness loomed ever closer, and the fear of losing each other spurred them into action. "Whatever happens, we can't give up," Mike declared fiercely, but even he wondered how much longer they could withstand this horror. Would they find what they were searching for, or would light slip through their fingers yet again? Mike's grip tightened around Jenna's hand as they fought against the encroaching shadows. The growl behind them rumbled like thunder, sending tremors through the very earth beneath their feet. Each heartbeat drummed terror in Mike's chest, matching the chaotic rhythm of the world around them. "Over there!" Jenna shouted, pointing at a flickering light that seemed to pulse beneath the ground. It was an unearthly luminescence, a vibrant blue that gave off a warmth contrasting the chill of the dark, creeping mist. They rushed toward it, but the shadows swirled violently, as if the darkness itself was alive, retaliating against their every move. "Keep going," he urged, adrenaline surging through him. He could hear the laughter of the sinister figure echoing in the distance, taunting them with words of failure and despair. The closer they got to that light, the more powerful the shadows became, darker, more aggressive, wrapping around them like chains. "Mike!" Jenna gasped, twisting to face him. I can't breathe." The whispers turned to hissed threats, each one cutting deeper than the last. "You will be consumed." The figure shrieked, its multitude of faces writhing in glee. Shadows lunged at them, snatching, clawing, tearing at their very essence. "Jenna, stay close," Mike barked, forcing his will against the shadows. He felt his own doubts creeping in, the darkness whispering that maybe it would be easier if they just let go, just surrendered. But he couldn't. Not now. Not when everyone he cared for was at stake. Just then, the ground trembled violently, and the luminous blue light surged upward like a beacon of hope, illuminating the immediate area and vanquishing the shadows directly around them. Mike felt a jolt of energy course through him, bolstering his resolve. "That's it. We're almost there." With renewed vigor, they sprinted towards it, but Jenna stumbled, a shadow snaking around her ankle, trying to pull her back into the black void. Mike whirled around, his heart nearly stopping. "Jenna!" Without thinking, he dashed back, throwing himself to the ground and grabbing her hand. With all his strength, he yanked her free, but not without a price. The shadow retaliated, slicing through him like ice, its coldness numbing. Mike gasped, a wave of debilitating fear washing over him. "I can't do this," Jenna cried, tears streaming down her cheeks, reflecting the frantic, shimmering blue light. What if we fail? Listen to me. Mike said urgently, squeezing her hand so she could feel his warmth. We've come this far. We have to believe that light will guide us. You are stronger than this darkness. Her gaze, filled with doubt, flickered as she focused on the glowing light. Just then, a pulse of energy rippled through the ground beneath them, sending a shockwave of color that splintered the shadows, if only for a moment. That brief illumination ignited something inside Jenna. We can harness it. Yes. Mike roared, and together they stepped forward, hand in hand, drawing from each other as strength. As they approached the light, it expanded, swirling in a majestic dance that seemed to beckon them with promises of safety, but the darkness, furious and relentless, quickly surged forward. Fools! The figure howled, eyes glinting with malice. You think you can escape? You only delay the inevitable. Stand firm. Mike shouted, the fear coursing through him replaced by a fierce determination that set his heart ablaze. As they reached the luminescent core, a surge of light enveloped them, shielding them from darkness. For the first time, they felt a wave of peace wash over them, and yet they knew it wasn't over. The figure was still there, its anger coursing through the shadows that encircled the light, eager to reclaim them. What now? Jenna asked, her voice trembling but filled with a flicker of hope. Now, we fight, Mike said, his voice steady. We bring this light to the darkness. But as they prepared to confront the looming evil, the ground shook violently again, and the light began to waver. Was it a sign of instability? Or was something else at play? Mike's heart raced anew, dread creeping back into his chest. In the chaos, a figure suddenly emerged from the light, a silhouette outlined against the brilliance. Was it friend or foe? What is happening? Jenna gasped, her eyes wide with terror. Don't let go. Mike shouted, uncertain of what would happen next, but ready to face whatever awaited them. The shadow had not been banished, and a new threat was unveiling itself. What terror lurked within the glowing light? The figure stepped out of the light, its outline shifting, almost liquid-like, reflecting echoes of the blue radiance. Mike squinted, trying to discern if it held a promise of rescue or another threat. Jenna's grip tightened. Fear intermingled with curiosity as they faced the unknown together. What are you? Mike called out, his voice wavering just slightly against the roar of the incoming shadows. Your guide, the figure replied. Its voice resonated like a song, soothing yet commanding, echoing through the chaos. You seek to conquer darkness, but you must first confront your own. With each word, the shadows recoiled slightly, as if wary of the figure's authority. It was an unsettling combination of warmth and caution that filled Mike's chest. He felt Jenna's breath quicken beside him, her hand growing less clammy as she absorbed some measure of hope. What do you mean? Jenna asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. You are both locked in a fight, not just against the shadows that surround you, but against the shadows within yourselves, the figure responded, its form pulsating with shades of blue and silver. Regret, fear, doubt, the deeper you grasp onto them, the stronger the darkness becomes. The shadows writhed, hissing at the figure's assertion. Speak not of weakness. They seethed, voices mingling into a cacophony of rage. The air felt thick, electric with tension, as the shadows coiled like snakes, ready to strike. No. We won't listen. Mike shouted, fueled by the surge of courage enveloping him. He felt Jenna's determination igniting beside him, a flame sparked anew in the face of despair. We're not afraid of you. Then prove it. The figure exclaimed, waving an arm that sent a wave of blue light racing across the ground, illuminating the dark just beyond their reach. Face your shadows. As the light filled the space, Mike's heart raced with possibility. We can't back down now, he said to Jenna, his voice boiling with conviction. We've battled so far. We can't be deterred by mere whispers of doubt. The shadows recoiled, furious at their defiance. You think you can escape? You are nothing without your fears. They shrieked, their clawed hands reaching out, attempting to grasp at the light and pull it into the void. The figure raised an arm, and for a moment time stood still. Together, it instructed, urging them to join forces in unwavering unity. Heed the strength within you. Bring forth that which is true. Jenna nodded, her resolve crystallizing. We can do this. In unison, they pressed forward, channeling their shared power, pain, hope, fear into a radiant beam of light that erupted from their hands. It sliced through the darkness like a sword, pushing against the encroaching shadows that dared to consume them. Screams erupted as shadows were torn apart, dissolving into wisps of smoke. But just as victory felt near, an immense wave of darkness surged back, swallowing the light in its ferocity, its form twisting and writhing, more powerful than before. What? Mike roared, disbelief shaking him to his core. It's still coming. How can this be? Jenna gasped, terror enveloping her hopes. The figure turned to them, its countenance shifting to something more solemn. You must look deeper. Trust in your bond. With every ounce of strength, Mike and Jenna forged ahead, focusing on the unity they had cultivated. They reached for each other, drawing strength from the light within their shared experiences, their triumphs and failures. The shadows screamed in fury, but they started to crack under the light's intensity. Just as the darkness lunged towards them one last time, the figure raised its hands. This is your moment. In that instant, they understood this battle wasn't just about survival, it was a test of their hearts. Could they face the deeper fears that lurked inside? A new wave of blinding light emerged, illuminating everything, and Mike and Jenna cast aside doubt. But just when it seemed they would overcome the tide, the ground shook violently. Suddenly, a bright flash revealed a gaping chasm opening beneath them, pulling everything into its depths. Stay together. They shouted in unison as they felt the ground give way. But would the light hold? Would they see the end of the darkness? Instead of answers, laughter echoed from the abyss. The shadows had transformed, a relentless storm swirling their fates into uncertainty. What awaits us now? Jenna breathed, her breath hitching with rising panic. As they were drawn into the unknown, the realization struck them this battle was far from over. What true shadows would they need to confront next? The sensation of falling engulfed them, the world around Mike and Jenna warping into a blur of colors as they were pulled into the darkness. Each second that passed felt like an eternity. Panic clawed at their throats, pulsating alongside the deafening roar of the shadows swirling beneath them. But as they tumbled, the calm presence of the figure lingered in their minds. Trust in your bond, the words echoed in Mike's head, a tether to hold on to amidst the chaos. He reached out, his fingers brushing against Jenna's. Their connection felt like the thin thread of hope woven tightly between them. They landed hard on jagged stone, the impact knocking the breath from their lungs. Gasping, they pushed themselves up, surveying their surroundings. They found themselves in a cavern lit by flickering, ghostly blue flames. The light danced against the damp walls, casting eerie shadows that moved like living things. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. What is this place? Jenna whispered, her voice echoing back at them, tinged with reverberations of fear. I don't know, Mike replied. But we need to stay alert. As they rose to their feet, the shadows began to swirl around the edges of their vision, seeping in closer with every heartbeat. The laughter they had heard moments before morphed into hushed whispers, taunting. You thought you could escape, didn't you? A voice slithered from the shadows, cold, dripping with malice. This is where the true battle begins. We're not afraid of you. Mike shouted, defiance burning in his chest, but the fear in his gut swirled hotter. Oh, but you should be, the voice replied, and from the darkness emerged silhouettes of twisted figures, grotesque and haunting, each one a reflection of their deepest fears, fear of failure, of loss, of being alone. Jenna's eyes widened in horror. Each form was more real than she had ever imagined. They were elements of her mind brought forth. Mike. Look. Unable to tear his gaze from the nightmarish figures, Mike felt his resolve waver. No. We can't let them take hold, Jenna. We have to remember the figure told us to face our fears. The shadows crept closer, closing in like dread-filled waves about to crash over them. Mike took a shaky breath, remembering that warmth, the blue light from earlier. Together. He urged Jenna, extending his hand once more. The flicker of hope ignited as Jenna grasped Mike's palm. They stood firm, grounding themselves in unity. The figures lunged at them, but instead of recoiling, Mike and Jenna focused on their bond, drawing strength from their shared experiences. We want to let you win. Jenna yelled, focusing on the light within that illuminated their path even now. Together, they summoned a pulse of energy, a blue wave of light that emanated from their joined hands and expanded outward, forcing the shadows back. The grotesque visions began to shimmer, losing their form as they shrieked in agony. Yet as they flinched and faded, a darker, more formidable presence manifested within the depths, the source of the laughter. This figure stood cloaked in shadows, its eyes burning like coals, the embodiment of everything that wanted to break them. Do you think this will halt the inevitable? It hissed, its voice booming through the cavern. No. This is the beginning of the end for you. Mike declared, an unexpected ferocity rising within him. The cavern shook violently. The shadows writhed, grasping again at their feet, imbued with a menacing energy as the challenge became clearer. What awaited them next? How could they possibly conquer this new foe that thrived on their despair? In that moment, the realization hit: this wasn't just the next step, it was a reckoning. A pivotal battle. Could they muster the strength to face what lurked near? With the ominous laughter echoing around them, the true test loomed. Drawing nearer, would they summon the courage needed to conquer their ultimate shadows? The darkness buzzed around them, a living, breathing entity, swirling and pulsing in an angry symphony. Mike and Jenna stood their ground, hearts pounding in synchrony with the roiling shadows. As the air thickened with foreboding, the figure cloaked in shadows loomed closer, its coalescing form revealing faces etched with agony, distorted visage whispering fears long buried. Mike clenched Jenna's hand tighter, channeling every ounce of resolve he possessed. This is our moment, Jenna. We have to remember the light. He could feel her warmth radiating beside him, a beacon against the creeping despair. Together. Jenna affirmed, and for the first time since entering this nightmare, her fear melted into fierce determination. They faced the darkness, ready to confront the looming horror. The shadows around them twisted violently, a cacophony of wails echoing through the cavern. You cannot escape the truth of who you are. The shadow figure taunted, its voice dripping with venom. You're haunted by your own failures. No. Mike shouted, defiance flowing through him. We're not defined by our pains. We've conquered so much already. They concentrated on that flicker of blue light sustained by their bond. Together, they unleashed a pulse of energy that surged from their entwined hands like a lightning strike, cutting through the thick fog of despair. But the towering presence was undeterred. You think you can wield such power? This light cannot extinguish what lurks beneath. Embrace your darkness. The shadows released a wave of energy, sweeping toward them like an unimaginable tide. Objects from their past emerged, spinning around them like hurtful reminders. Regrets, fears, painful memories surged forth, threatening to drown them in suffocating despair. Close your eyes. Think of the light. Mike yelled, desperation clawing at his throat. He could feel the creeping chill of doubt settle over him, but he fought it, digging deeper into the memories of warmth and love. Remember us. Jenna's voice cut through the chaos, sparking something in Mike, a memory of laughter, joy, their shared dreams brightening even the darkest corners of his mind. Focus on the journey, not the shadows. They concentrated again, and this time the blue light erupted from their hearts, casting shadows aside like a broken chain. The illusions of pain shrieked and recoiled, truth shattering the fabric of despair. Encouraged, they pressed on, fueling their resolve with the hope that coursed between them. They were not alone. They never truly had been. The shadow figure's laughter turned desperate, losing its grip as they advanced. No. You will not take this from me. It shrieked, but they continued, the illumination growing brighter, chipping away at the oppressive darkness inch by inch. With each flicker of light, Mike could see Jenna's face, fiercely lit with determination. The shadows began to fraction, light pouring into the cracks of despair. "Stand beside me!" he roared, and on that command, they soared forth, illuminating everything with hope's unwavering resilience. Finally, in one final push, Mike charged forward with Jenna at his side. Their hands linked, they thrust the vibrant light toward that cloaked figure. The instant the light collided with the shadowy entity, a blinding flash erupted throughout the cavern. "No!" the figure wailed, the anguished cries echoing as darkness crumbled beneath the sheer force of their combined energy. As the brilliance washed over the cave, everything seemed to slow. The shadows dissolved into mere wisps, fading into nothingness, and with it, their fears scattered, evaporated like morning mist. The figure cried out in defeat until the last shriek faded into silence. That I and the aftermath, Jenna and Mike found themselves in the quiet glow of the cavern. The air felt lighter, the oppressive weight lifted as echoes of their fears vanished. Did we do it?" Jenna whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. "I think we did," Mike replied, breathless relief flooding through him. They shared a smile, one full of hope and newfound strength, together. They stepped into the radiant warmth of the fading blue glow, now a protective aura surrounding them. They didn't just face darkness, they had confronted their own inner shadows and emerged victorious. And with their hands still joined, they moved forward, the entrance to the cavern waiting before them. As the light filtered through the opening, laughter danced in their hearts. It was time for a new chapter. Mike felt it, a spark of life awaiting outside, ready to unfold. Together, they could embrace the world again. One final glance back at the cavern confirmed their victory over what once imprisoned them. They walked toward the light and new beginnings with courage blooming in their hearts. Their journey had only just begun, but this time, they would face it together, unbreakable, unyielding, and free. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that thrill and chill you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show how much you love our journey together. Flood the comments section with all your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything to us. Let us keep this amazing community growing.